everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, James, and JP, thank you once again for attending the webinar today. We have a lot of things to cover. I just want to say that this is going to be a continuation from the last webinar. That's the intention. There is a lot of current information. Here in the United States, we have more moisture, I think, than we know what to do with. Here in Colorado, the snow base is over 6 feet. In some places, it's higher. Last week, there were over 240 avalanches just in the state of Colorado. I-70, I-25 were closed several times due to avalanches or the fear of an avalanche. So they had to get in there and blow the snowpacks. In the deep country, there were many avalanches. Some of them were fatal. In California, for those of you in California, your drought is officially over. And of course, the climate people were saying a year and a half ago that California was going to be in perpetual drought. That turned out to be absolutely rubbish. And because your drought's over, you have more water than you need. So there's a lot of things going on. There are a lot of changes in the weather patterns, and that would be expected with the magnetic poles moving. Many of the tropical storms that you would normally have along the equator would in fact be moving north. So it's not a surprise. It's just how these things work. So once you get past the media narratives, which is just rubbish, and get to the science of it, the real science of it, that's what's going on. Before I get into the current stat, we talked a lot about the currency reset and things like that in number 76. We're gonna start off talking about that because there's a lot of information. I am not a broker. I'm not a licensed stockbroker or currency trader. None of that. Just a person that does a lot of research and has been paying attention to this kind of thing for many, many, many years. And you don't always need a degree to know what's going on or to interpret what's going on. And fortunately, I have people in my life that I can bounce things off of. So what happened from the end of 76 to today? Well, a lot has happened. The Bank of International Settlements, beginning or the end of last week, made a statement that on March 29th, the world, at least 209 countries in the world, would be moving to an asset-backed, gold-backed currency system. They officially said the words. Unfortunately, now BIS is being a pain in the ass. The IMF and the World Bank have been taken over by AIIB. The CMTX, the farm claims, are finally being paid out. The reason it took so long is because Wells Fargo was holding the 800 numbers. And they wouldn't release the 800 numbers. Well, you'll be interested to know that Sloan and the board of Wells Fargo have already been replaced. Yesterday, 22 people were arrested, senior executives in Wells Fargo. So there is a lot going on, and it is just, it's the cabal, the cabal, the cabal. And it's just taking some time to clean these guys out. They refuse to relinquish power, so they're going to fight tooth and nail, and that's exactly what they're doing. Also, in the rest of the world, they want to know about all the indictments. They want to know where are all the arrests, and that's being pointed right at President Trump and his Justice Department and everything else that's going on. People have a lot of questions. China is very upset with the United States for numerous reasons, but one of them is because they're not further along with the currency reset and the movement of the quantum financial system here in the United States. Now, I know that every day there's movement towards completion of that. I don't think China appreciates, or the word is that they don't appreciate how deeply entrenched the cabal has been in this country. So it's taking a little while longer, the deep state cabal, to get rid of them. As we get closer to the finale here and the actual flip of the system, more rats are coming out of the woodwork that were entrenched, that were unknown. There are some people who are saying that the U.S. is being sanctioned by China because they haven't moved on further along with that. I will let you know as soon as I have confirmation of that. I also want you to know that Brexit is not an issue. Whether it happens or not, there are contingency plans in place for the USN, the U.S. Treasury note, or some are calling the United States Treasury Reserve. There is an issue where no one is buying USD short-term bonds. Who would want something that's worthless? So there's a lot of pressure to get this going. But like I said earlier, the farm claims, the CMTX, the fines and penalties are all being paid. Now, there are very strong rumors that many of the Native American tribes have been paid. But of course, they can't officially talk about it because everybody's under an NDA. But it was a very unusual thing to see a Native American tribe offer and in fact follow through in paying for the burial fees of those people that lost their lives in Alabama. It was an amazing gesture. It was for sure noticed, and it actually caught many people by surprise that they would be so generous in doing this. Maybe this is a sign that, in fact, those things have happened. Now, along these lines, for those of you who are still looking to get currency, you can get them usually at your airports, your local airports that are international airports. They all have currency exchange offices. Almost every country has currency exchange companies. You just have to figure it out. Okay. Now, understand, for those of you who are involved in this, as the old cabal is disempowered and removed from the equation, those of you who are acquiring new wealth, you'll be the new elite. Okay? The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Give this some serious thought, because those of you who have a lot of currency, you're going to be extremely wealthy, and your lives are going to change dramatically. You may not change as a person, but the things that you do and how you operate is going to change, because you are now in a position to help a lot of people, including your families, obviously. For those of you who have a great deal of Zen, you're going to be in a position where you are going to set up trusts, and they are going to be generational annuities. You're going to you should begin to think about, how are you going to structure this? How do you want this not only to help your family, but to help the planet? Because we know what the cabal's done. We know what the deep state has done. We know what the 13 banking royal families of the old Roman Empire have done. Okay, the evidence is everywhere. The wars, the starvation, the destruction, the environmental harm, we know it all. Okay, we know it all. What is it that we, all of us can do that is different to repair, to begin to repair what they've done? Okay? How are we going to model ourselves to help instead of harm? This can't be all talk. Okay, there has to be walking the talk. And it's important to understand that you're going to be in a position to really help change the world, as well as take care of yourselves and your family. How are you going to do it? For those of you, after you've exchanged, you're going to need wealth management teams. You're going to need paymasters, someone to help pay all your bills, because you may be very busy doing philanthropic work or traveling or starting up new companies. You're going to want to have people to do the ridiculous day-to-day stuff. That doesn't mean you don't manage them. You do. But you're an affluent person now. You have to start thinking this way. You're going to have to change the way you think about wealth, because you're not going to be struggling anymore. If you're going to start a company, you're going to have to build a staff that you know you can trust. You may even want private security to protect yourself, your homes, your families. You're going to want to hire people after you've bought your properties, your residences, and your families, because now you're a super affluent person. You might want to have people help you get your properties removed from Google Maps. It can be done, in case you didn't know that. Okay, personal security. All of these are going to be issues that you are now going to have to think about. Okay? Safe rooms, personal wellness, personal trainers. For those of us who are seniors, we're going to be in a position to actually do some things, to use new cutting edge technology to bring our bodies back into harmony. Nutrition, electronic footprints. These are all things you're going to have to start thinking about. Insurance strategies, creating trusts to protect not only your wealth, but that of others, to protect your grandchildren, their grandchildren, again, generational annuities. There's a lot that's going to go into this. And there's a learning curve. There is definitely going to be a learning curve in how to handle this. But understand that you're being given an opportunity here to make a statement and to undo hundreds of years of tyranny and hurting so many people, the harm that's been done to so many people and to so many countries. And, you know, the West is culpable. There's no question about it, that the West is culpable. Some countries in the East are culpable. And that leads me into why this is important, why it's imperative to pay attention to the moments that you're in. We have talked in past webinars about crossing the galactic plane. Now, it's interesting, very few people out there are talking about this. But that is, in fact, what's happening to our solar system. We are crossing the galactic plane. We are moving out of the masculine energy, crossing the plane, which is why we have the incredible gravity waves, all the plasma clouds, the debris, because the galaxy is set up as a plate and it's constantly spinning because that's where the gravitational waves are. And it attracts and it draws to it not only energy, but debris. Well, we're crossing over that, through it, I should say, into the feminine principle. Now, there is no stopping this. But what there is adapting, understanding, and evolving into it. Now, what does that really represent for our civilization? Humanity, all of humanity, has, for the most part, been completely drawn out of itself and is spending over 80% of its consciousness on the exterior. We're all focused on the outside. What's missed is the fact that, and it's, you can really see this in the younger generations coming up, starting with the millennials. They have no spiritual foundation. And they're completely out of balance. And so are the other generations. They're out of balance. Everything's the outside. It's technology. It's the television. It's video games. It's media. Okay, it's all this stuff on the outside. There is no inner contemplation. If they have a problem, they look for solutions online. They don't go within. They don't ask for their own personal higher guidance. What is the right steps to do? It's almost as if they're not even aware that it's there, because we're out of balance. Our civilization has become completely out of balance. Now, what happens when you're crossing the galactic plane and you move into the feminine principle? If you're a too strong male, you are going to swing into the female. And I know that the benevolent races are doing everything they can to buy us some time to make this transition seamless, as opposed to a quick slam. Like, okay, here it is today. In 3 months, it's completely different. Most people would never be able to handle that. So the transition needs to occur in an orderly, organized manner so that everyone can catch up, or at least clearly understand what is happening with the frequencies on the planet, the vibration of not only the planet, but all living things on the surface. There is no escaping that for us. Okay, we are antenna. We are frequency vibrational antennas. And our chakra systems fully have plugged us into this. So there is no separating ourselves from it. All we have to do, though, is we have to be consciously aware that everything is shifting and changing. Now, for those who become affluent, you have a responsibility. For all the years of griping and whining about it's all rigged, you are now going to find yourself in the position that the cabal and the deep state were, the Illuminati. Are you truly committed to doing this differently, to making things better? How many of you have actually even thought about this? This is really important, because as we swing into the feminine and everyone becomes more intuitive and the movement of emotion becomes more free and open, so does transparency. So does transparency. And we have talked about this for some time, about what it is that you want. You know, what does a healed human race look like? What would it even look like? We need to start having those conversations. Whatever country you're in, there are very specific needs that your country has and its people have. Are you prepared to help, to assist in some way, to make those changes? Whatever those needs are. Here in the United States, oh my God. It seems like everything's broken. It really does. It almost appears as if everything is broken. So we have a lot of work to do. But the first thing that is imperative, regardless of where we all live on this planet, is to come to an understanding that we are all family. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all family. We are, regardless of the color of our skin, regardless of our eyes, regardless of our philosophical religious beliefs, we are one tribe. We are one planet, one race. That's how the benevolents see us. Even the regressives see us that way. They really do. In their heart of hearts, they know. But they couldn't control us if we were all on the same page together. Because when we moved together, they were not in control. You understand? And they knew that. They would never be in control if humanity moved together in one direction. That wasn't what they wanted. So, divide and conquer. And it's worked. It's worked very well for years and years and years. Centuries, millennia. The benevolents, on the other hand, want us to move together. Okay, they want that. They want us united. Because in that is power, in that is movement. In that is when we're healed and we're moving together towards a desired goal. What fully kicks in then is the law of consistency, where everybody moves together, we achieve our goals, we set new goals, and we move forward to those. And along the way, as we continue to achieve goals and to evolve spiritually, all the future generations behind us move forward with us. The law of consistency. This creates balance. This creates harmony. Okay? And Earth has a vibration. When she's out of whack, the solar system's out of whack. It's no different if you have a completely healed body that suddenly now has a disease. The rest of the body knows it and it reacts to it. The galaxy is no different. What is it that we want to do? Where do we want to go from here? Because as the cabal and the Illuminati and the regressive ETs are being removed, there's a void, there's a vacuum. There's going to be a vacuum. Okay? And the benevolents are not going to come in and fill that vacuum. That is not their job. They are not here to babysit, nor should we want them to babysit, nor should we give them the power to babysit. Okay? They're not gods. They are not gods. They're learned. They're more wisdom. They have more experience. They have more knowledge. They have incredible esoteric knowledge and information to pass on to us. But they haven't lived on Earth. They haven't lived in third density. Many of them haven't. We have to step up. We have to rise to the occasion. And we have to start thinking about, how does this happen? How is it going to occur? Now, those of you who are part of this, who are becoming super affluent, you're in an excellent position to have some say as to how this occurs. To maybe steer the ship in a direction. The economy, government, the environment. You are going to be in a position to have a great deal of influence on how we begin to heal the wounds that have scarred humanity since the old Roman Empire. How are we going to do that? These are conversations that now need to begin. We shouldn't leave this to government. We just shouldn't do it. God bless the white hats and everything that they're doing to give us this opportunity. But, a perfect example of this is, here in the United States. The United States is not a democracy. It was never founded as a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. And the Constitution is an agreement between the people and the government. And as Thomas Jefferson once said, the Constitution are the chains that bind the government to being the servant of the people. Except we gave them the keys to unlock themselves. And it went south right away. Okay? And it took over, and it took control, and it became corrupt. And we are so far off our path, it's a wonder we can even have a conversation about our path. The point is this. The goal here is to create a race of leaders where everyone is a leader. The more knowledgeable, the more self-efficient, the more empowered every single one of us becomes, the less and less government we will need until future generations reach a point where the only government they're going to want to have will be to maintain the structural integrity of the cities on a local level. I mean, think about this. I realize that that's, maybe 4, 5, 10 generations from here. But we need to start thinking about this kind of stuff now because we're at that turning point. As we cross this galactic plane and we move into the feminine principle, the feminine vibration, the planet and everything on it is going to seek balance. It is going to shake and move and do whatever it has to do to bring everything back into balance. You're either going to go with the program or you're not. And it is ridiculous to even resist it. Because you can't. You're on the planet. You're part of the circle of the frequency. You are part of the consciousness of the planet. You're going to go with the program. So we have to embrace the fact that all this change is coming. And we can be very proactive in adjusting to this and accepting it and moving with it. And in fact, maybe even getting ahead of the changes. Could you imagine that? Where we are ahead of all the changes that are coming, and this empowers everyone else to follow the lead and get on the same page towards spiritual harmony, racial harmony, food production, good food, cleaning the environment, ending chemtrails, and all the weather modification that has been going on up there. You want to know about climate change? That's the shit right there. All that nonsense. This is our home. And as I have said for years and years and years, the benevolents are not going to come in here and babysit. They will offer to mentor, but we have to step up. We have got to meet the challenges. We have got to show that we want the responsibility to take care of ourselves, each other, and the planet. Otherwise, what's the point? Why bother? Why bother? I mean, think about it. Would you walk into a classroom where everyone there absolutely doesn't want to learn math and they just ignore you, they're rude to you, they're disgusted, they cuss you out, they do everything but what you came in there to do, and yet you have a responsibility to try to teach them math. But you can't get through to these people. You can't get through to these kids because they don't want to hear it. Do we want to act like that? Do we really want to act like that? After everything we've already been through, after looking at all the contrast of all this negativity, and most of the negativity we haven't even heard about yet. Okay? There is a lot still to be exposed. Very, very dark. It's time. It is really, really time to embrace not only this change, but this incredible opportunity to move into a genuine harmony, a balance between spirit and nature. And we're always there. We're always between spirit and nature. And that bridge is our physical bodies. But many of us have issues with our physical bodies because of all the stress, because of all the worry, because of our diets and chemical poisoning, etc. It's taken its toll on all of humanity. Everything's out of balance. And everything's going to move back into balance. And we need to prepare ourselves for that. And we should embrace that change. I know that there is conversations about something happening and there's going to be an ascension. I don't know how that's going to happen. And frankly, I don't think anybody else does either. But I do believe everybody's doing the best they can and is sharing their perspective on how they see it. And that's fine. Because, ultimately, it doesn't matter what they think, what I think, what any other speaker or visionary talks about. What really matters is what you think. What feels right to you? What resonates to you? What is it that you walk away with from any knowledge that's imparted to you? What sticks? What gives you those aha moments? Okay, what puts pieces together for you? That's what's really important. And then you live with that. You go with it. You trust your intuition. That's what matters. Because in doing so and seeing what works for you empowers you. It empowers you to be who you really are. Listen. You're all multidimensional beings. And I know this for a fact. I don't expect you to believe it, but I'm just telling you I know this for a fact. And you're going to have to figure it out yourself. But those of you who have a coexistence in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th density, you're not a slave there. You are not a slave in those dimensions, that other part of you, those other aspects of you. You're not a slave there. So why would you be a slave here? Why would you be a slave here? It's a good question, isn't it? Why would you tolerate this shit here when you don't tolerate any of it up there? It doesn't matter that that kind of consciousness that we have here in third density doesn't exist up there. Well, a little bit in fourth, lower fourth density. There's definitely some trash there. Okay? But the reality is, once you know what you know, why would you tolerate it here? And we have this opportunity to make these changes, to truly change not only our communities, but our states, our countries, our race, our races, our civilization, our human family. And we have to start having these conversations. We really do. It's time, because the ways and the means are on their way here now. They are rolling out all over the world, or at least in 209 countries. The ways and means are rolling themselves out. It can't be stopped. It is happening. It is a process that is moving forward. And very soon, any time now, it's going to roll out into the visible spectrum where everyone can see it in everyday ways. Okay? We have to be prepared for it. We have to be able to hit the ground running. And I know there are a lot of really smart people out there who are on the forums and doing the research, studying exopolitics, getting the latest and greatest, paying attention to politics, people who know how to absorb a lot of different information, pull it together, and get a big picture. And who are also put themselves in a position to have the ways and means to make things happen. The Native Americans, whenever they made a decision, and this may be true of other indigenous tribes around the world, they would try to do their best to look ahead 7 generations. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an absolutely outstanding concept. And I truly believe that that is something that we should talk to Native American tribes about, or other indigenous people, to understand that process and how they looked at these things and how they broke down each generation and embraced that. I am not comfortable trusting AI to do it, or any of these think tanks that have helped create the problems we have today. I personally think they should all be fired. And we need to step up and begin to talk about these things ourselves. Okay, we did it their way. We did it their way. And we got hammered, and 90% of us got screwed. Why would we continue to do that? Doesn't make sense, right? That's almost as dumb as deciding to remain a slave here while other aspects of ourselves are free on other dimensional planes. It doesn't make any sense, does it? No. Everyday life it is, how do I put this? The thing that I noticed with the A's, even though my total exposure is limited, but the thing that I noticed about them was how every moment, not only were they present, but every moment held wonder and sacredness. You could just see it. The way they moved, their dedication, their focus. They understood that whatever it was that they were doing in the moment was something that they were creating into the future. Their intention was, what I'm doing right now is building the future. They understood that. And they had a reverence, or I should say they have a reverence for it. And I think we need to learn that. I do. I mean, we have this incredible gift of our extremes of emotions. I mean, just imagine what we could accomplish if we had that same reverence for each other, for our families, for our communities. Especially when we all share the same vibrational band and frequency. Why would we intentionally want to be the source of the disharmony, of the presence of the Holy Spirit, the Great Spirit that's on planet Earth? Why would we choose to be that disharmony, to create that disharmony? It doesn't make any sense to me, but we have. Maybe it's just we got into some terrible habits and we just don't realize it. Maybe we've become so detached from our spiritual part, our spiritual selves, that we just don't know any better. But we have to. We have to, because the vibration of the planet is changing. It's going from masculine to feminine. And there's going to be a search for balance. And that's really, really important. Listen, something I'm somewhat uncomfortable talking about, but we're going to do this anyway, because this information has come to me 3 different ways, and that usually means it's necessary to mention it. The Russian Academy of Sciences has notified all countries along the Pacific about what they believe is going to be a very disastrous impending earthquake. Along the coastline of Washington and Oregon, the Juan de Fuca Plate. Whatever their sciences are, however they're studying this, excuse me, they have notified all countries, including the United States, that they are predicting a 9-point or higher earthquake along the Juan de Fuca Plate, which is off the coast of Washington State and Oregon, which would cause anywhere between 100 and a 300-foot tsunami. Might even be higher, I don't know. If something like this were to happen, those of you in Washington would have, in Seattle, would have 30 minutes notice. That's it. Portland, about the same. Maybe 42, I think. Now, obviously, no one wants this to happen. But the Russians, for whatever reason, they don't want it to happen either, but they're just putting everybody on notice. And we all know here in the United States that our government has been very remiss in telling us things we needed to know, that they had foreknowledge of. So the fact that it's come to me in 3 different ways, I'm obligated to tell you, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. But they suspect that this is going to occur sometime in the next week. Let's hope not. Let's hope that we have some intervention. Let's hope that prayer eases the tension and that the movement is someplace else, out very deep in the ocean where it doesn't do anybody harm. Okay, now, the quantum financial system is operating. It is working. There are a couple little glitches that are being resolved. One of those is BIS, the Bank of International Settlement. But my understanding is that it's going to be taken over and made a responsible organization that is going to be for the betterment of humanity and not for the central banks. Okay? So there is a lot of things going on behind the scenes. There is a dramatic amount of change. And you can begin to see the change coming. You can not only feel it, but alternative news sources are sharing information. More and more is coming out, and I find it very interesting that Facebook and Twitter and Chapsnat, all these media companies owned by the multinationals or the intelligence agencies are doing everything they can to silence all this because they're still trying to maintain control of what's going on. But you can't control energy. You just can't. Not the energy that we're experiencing, because it's coming from higher dimensions. It's coming from the stars, from the central sun. It's futile. It is absolutely futile. What really needs to happen is for you to get up on what's really going on, what the change all represents in a spiritual way, and get on board. It'll make it a lot easier for yourselves. Instead of trying to continuously control, dominate, mitigate, because you've had all this control for all this time and you've screwed everything up. It's time to let go. It's time to let go, let God. And I mean that with all sincerity. Okay? With your permission, before we go to Q&A, I wanted to read Worship of the Isness. Mornay gave this to me on February 24th, 1995. And there's a lot in this. And it absolutely falls in line with everything we've been talking about, especially today. And I'll read this quickly. The worship of the isness, that's their, that's what they refer to as God, or Great Spirit, or Holy Spirit. Okay, in their language, it translates to English here as isness. The worship of the isness is silent and solitary, free from all self-seeking. The silence is a necessity, as all speech is feeble and imperfect. Therefore, as with your ancestors and ours, their spirits and consciousness would ascend out of time and space to the isness in wordless adoration, feeling. There are no priests or saviors authorized to come between a man, parentheses soul, and our makers. Each experience is personal and different than another, and should not in any way be meddled with or judged. Each soul should become conscious of the divinity that is in itself. There should be no shrines, no temples among you, except nature and the caretaking of nature by mankind. Be a real, natural human being. Your real faith may not be formulated in the creeds as you have been taught, but from a much deeper portion of yourself that you have forgotten or you choose to ignore. Temples were built on your planet to honor and worship the extraterrestrial beings believed to be gods. The isness can be worshipped by honoring yourself and that which is given to you. By honoring yourself, you honor the isness because you are truly one and the same. Look at your earth, your ocean, your night sky, and the galaxy. This is your church, and you are the altar in that church. So release yourself from your past limited thinking. It only takes a decision. What anyone else thinks does not matter. It is important to remember that the isness does not place value upon the material fabric of time. This has only been created so that we as souls can learn more about ourselves and return with our experiences to contribute to the creation of ourselves. The rituals of offerings, sacrifice, and other symbolic objects only mean something to you. The isness is only interested in your intent, the path of your heart. Look to find your highest happiness and the motive for power in your existence. Do not look with ill upon those of simplicity or poverty. The goal of one's path, regardless of lifetimes or life forms, is not the accumulation of wealth and the enjoyment of luxury. It is to discover your true self, that which is apart from the isness. It is that part of you which chooses to leave the comfort and safety of all of eternity, to fall into the concept of time. To become a true human being is the practice and constant embracing of your essential self. And from that place of eternity, your thoughts, actions, and emotions should emanate into the world. Human beings should be vulnerable, open, focused, strong, and flexible. In your world, the three concerns all of you must address personally are self-worth, trust, and expectation. Your earth not only needs healing, she also needs a responsible and worthy companion. That companion is the masculine. There is a great need for the men of your world to become intuitive and focused on the development of the soul. Men must cultivate unconditional love on all levels. The men of your world are too aggressive and full of self-imposed loneliness. Please remember that all energy moves in a circle, so everything returns, the love, the anger, and the despair. Please, we ask you to also acknowledge the fact that the love that you withhold is the pain that you carry. So let love warm your voice. Let love be wonder to children's ears. Let imagination create a world of unconditional responsibility. It will also change the order of the old world. We see that today. Let your emotions give motion to the hero that struggles within all of you for the freedom to act, to be, to witness, and to apologize. The responsibility of becoming a human being is great, but it is also natural. It is prayer in motion. It is your evolution and free will in action. It is the flow of life in all things. So love the earth and make new life, for children are always a new beginning. Most of you have yet to rediscover a world you have already discovered. It never gets old. JP, I'm ready for some Q&A if you're there.
Okay, is this thing on?
Yes, you're good.
Fabulous. This is from Lauren. I have to say, I put that on the internet on YouTube, with a little bit of music at the background and some slideshows. I was listening to the other day.
Oh, awesome.
I lifted it from one of the earlier things. Anyway, I remember you saying, this is from Lauren, I remember you saying along the lines of all creatures from this universe share a common soul resonance. It is speculated that the Draconians didn't come from this universe. Did those beings have a different soul frequency than ours? And if so, do you think the new Dracos being born or hatched have their original resonance, or do their physical bodies now contain our frequency?
God, I love this crowd. If I were to guess, and that's the guess, is that I would think some of the generations would have our frequency, since this is where they were born and this is all they know. But I don't really know for sure, Lauren. That's an outstanding question. Could you email that to me at Galahad, please? And I will put that up at the top of the list with about 45 or 50 other top questions. That's outstanding. That's just an outstanding question. Okay.
From William Pepper. Hi, Alex. I'm sure you've touched on this before. When you quote "hear" from Morine, how does that happen? For those of us who would like to have intelligent contact with benevolent ET beings, should it be anticipated in particular ways? Thank you.
Yes, it should be anticipated. It should absolutely be anticipated. You be absolutely clear about what that looks like, what that feels like for you. In your mind, you create a scenario that is absolutely safe for you, and you presume that it's already happened. That's what I would do. Because they're here. They're here. There are boots on the ground, and there are seats in the sky. They're here. Okay, it's not like they have to come across the galaxy anymore. They don't. They're here. And this is why, again, I say we have this incredible opportunity. And when I ask, what is it that you want? I'm not trying to talk out of my ass here. Seriously, I mean, everyone has to ask that question. You have to know what you want. And, those of us who are older, vintage, lack of a better word, we've all lived two lives. The life we've learned with and the life we live with now, having made most of all of the mistakes when we were younger. Okay? And having experienced the contrast of making those mistakes, now living the new life without all those mistakes because we're wiser, you should have a pretty good understanding about what it is that works for you and what it is that you want. And that's why I have this expectation of you guys, knowing what it is that you want. Because you've had the two lives. You're now in the second half of the life, of your life. And, many of you are going to be coming into great prosperity. You have to know what you're doing. You really do, because this is not an accident. Okay, you need to understand that you're in this position because you've created this position for yourself. It's not an accident, and with that comes some responsibility to change the world, to try to help to change the world. No one's expected to do it alone. Okay, this is definitely going to be a group and Star Nation effort. And it is going to happen. It's not an if, it's going to happen. And we're coming to that flipping point where it'll be clearly visible to everyone that everything has changed. And we're almost there. There's still a lot of things being suppressed and held, made secret, and there's still a lot of darkness that is yet to be revealed. But I mean, things are moving really, really fast. Breathlessly fast in many ways. And I wish it wasn't. I don't know how well prepared people are going to be for the changes and the shifts and the revelations that are going to be coming out. But it is what it is. And whatever it's going to be, we're just going to have to deal with it. As long as we can communicate and support each other and have open dialogue about the changes that we see and what it is that we want out of the changes that we see and that occur. That's important, to fully engage in all of these things that are changing, and not only talk about these things, but fully engage the heart in all of everything that we do. From this point on, all of us, we have to engage the heart along with the head in this. It can't be just one or the other. There has to be balance. Okay, I'm sorry, JP. That was a great question.
Okay, here's another one from Lauren. You've mentioned coffee, bananas, pears, apples, and lemons being brought here from other planets.
Yes.
Do you know if we've got any fruits and vegetables that are native to Earth? And if so, have they been transported to other planets?
It is my understanding that the space program has shared seeds. But exactly with whom, I'm not aware. So I'm going to say yes. I'm definitely going to say yes, that there has been a sharing of fruit or agriculture from Earth. Am I aware of anything that's completely indigenous to the Earth? I am not. I am not aware of any specific fruit or vegetable that is completely indigenous to Earth. That's all I got.
Okay. This is from Ankara. Has the Earth government ever had any contact with benevolent ETs or only the regressive ones?
Define Earth government. What Earth government? Would you be referring to the United Nations? Because that's really not an Earth government. That whole thing's a facade. So I'm not aware of an Earth government, but the United Nations has, behind closed doors, had conversations regarding extraterrestrial contact. They have. They've talked about situations, not only here in the United States, but in China and Russia, of open contact with extraterrestrial races behind closed doors. Those conversations have already occurred. The give and take, the relating of the experience, and whatever information was gleaned or shared with, or knowledge that was meant to be passed on, has been shared. So the fact that you may or may not have even heard of this tells you that this Earth government is a sham. It really has nothing to do with really caring or supporting the people of the Earth. It's just, its function was to be a buffer to hide upper middle management control of the planet and the race through the banking cartels and the military industrial complex. That's all the UN is. That's all it was actually designed to be. All you have to do is look at its real history. Look at what it says and look at what it did. They're two very different things. And what you want to focus on is what it did. I mean, again, Agenda 21 was being promoted by the United Nations. Agenda 2030 is being promoted by the United Nations. Both of those programs are the elimination of at least half of the world's population. So that's not my Earth government. Okay? It's just not. Did you vote for anybody there? Did you elect anybody there? Did they talk to you about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and eliminating half of the world's population? No, they damn sure did. They did all that crap in secret. So I don't know about an Earth government. We barely have our government here in the United States that's functional. We barely do. So a lot of things are going to change. They are. It's going to be very interesting to see which is humanity to be proactive. Because if we sit there and wait for these people to get their shit together after all this time and they haven't, we're going to get screwed, like we always have. We have to step forward. We have to take the lead. We just do. Because it's obvious that the people who have been running the show don't know how to run the show. They don't. They're incompetent. Okay? They're incompetent. Okay, JP.
Okay. How many times has humanity been prevented from ascension, and what prevented humanity from ascending?
Wars, pole shifts, intentional meteor strikes which would create a global catastrophe or calamity, climate change. The single most important event regarding the shift from ascension to zero to no ascension is fear. That single emotion, the generation of that single emotion throughout humanity is what got everybody stuck here. Because fear is an incredibly restrictive frequency. If everyone is awakening and they're all moving together, there is a point of no return where the frequency, the engagement of the consciousness of humanity to connect to fourth density happens like this. And what happens is, as humanity evolves in consciousness and awareness, at some point it almost instantaneously occurs where now you flip into fourth density. And once the majority of the consciousness of the races, and this not exclusive to Earth, once a percentage hit and cross that bridge and fully engage and connect consciously to fourth, what happens is we are the vessels. We open the doors and fourth density comes right down, hits the earth, penetrates the earth, moves through the earth, and it expands like this. And what happens is we're fourth density. Wherever it stops, wherever the full engagement is of fourth density, everything in that space now is in fourth density. And essentially, third density moves around it. We may be able to see it, but it no longer sees us because we are now in that new frequency. Do you understand? It would be like a stealth bomber or a UFO, where it's stealth in the atmosphere. Everything's going on around it. Okay, but we don't see it. We can't see it. And some of the ships are so good that you can actually fly an aircraft through it and you wouldn't even know that you flew through it. Excuse my English. But nonetheless, it's still there. It's holding space. But we don't see it because it's in another vibration. That's what happens to planets and races. It fills the space, it grabs and holds the higher vibration, and those in third density no longer see it. It no longer exists to them. It's gone. Yet it shares the space at a higher frequency. What keeps that from happening is fear. And this is why so many white hats warn about false flags, be on the lookout, the media just doing their narrative, fear, 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 hate, hate, hate. Why? Because if you pay attention to it and you allow it into your consciousness, you lower your frequency because now you get stressed out about it. Now you're worried. Now you're worried if the economy's going to collapse. Now you're worried if a tornado's going to take you out. Yada, yada, yada. All these things, you see. And that's why I hesitated about talking about the earthquake off the Pacific Northwest. But the Russian Academy of Science, those guys are pretty good. They're pretty good. And, they don't have the same agenda that the climate change scientists have of control and domination and fear. They don't have the same agendas, regardless of what our media says about them. Okay? They're usually pretty good. And I just felt obligated to say it. But that's an example right there. Okay? it's we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities and higher places. We all do the best we can. I truly believe that. I truly do. I think everyone's doing the best they can. But fear is what keeps people from evolving. And the longer they stay in fear, the less and less spiritual frequency they hold, and they eventually end up dying very young. Because there's no movement, because fear is so restrictive. You just shut yourself off. And that's just an absolute shame, especially when most of the fear turns out not to be real. Lessons learned are bridges burned, right? Okay.
Meanwhile, continuing in the fourth dimensional theme, I've got quite a few questions about it, but Shane is asking, as we're moving into the fourth, is it possible we could at times feel like we're living in a twilight zone?
I would think so. But what's a twilight zone to you? It may not be the same to somebody else. Everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different. But I would say that maybe some of the commonalities would be when you're in that fourth dimensional space, you're more intuitive. And it's easy. There is absolutely no effort whatsoever. Your life is easy. Your relationships are a breeze. You find yourself moving through your day with almost no effort whatsoever, as if you're almost floating through it, because there's no resistance in any way to what your day is like. You will hear many of your favorite songs in a day or in a span of a period of time. You will think about someone and they will call, or several people. I mean, there's a lot of little synchronicities. To me, when you're in that fourth density space, the synchronicities line up so easily that you cannot dismiss the fact that your life for that period of time is nothing but synchronicities. All these things just happen, and they're all exactly perfect, the way they line up, exactly the way they want, and you're in a space and you're prepared to go and you move towards it. It's hard to describe. But you know when you're in the flow. You just know it. It's difficult to stay there, to hold it all the time. But I think as we evolve and we start to awaken, and more we become aware, the more fourth density we pull down, and we'll just step into it. We will literally just step into it. And then there won't be any going back. That's how I envision it. I don't see this automatic, boom, one day, that's it. Because I don't know how many people are even ready for it or prepared for a complete change in the reality of their existence. They may be talking about it, they may be thinking about it, but to fully engage it, to let go of doing things that you're doing now in order to prepare yourself for that, to truly move into a more spiritual life. I think right now with the majority of people, there's more talk than action. So, but maybe there's, maybe the benevolence know. They have a very different perspective of us from where they are. Plus, whatever's about to happen has already happened before, which is why many of them have come back in time to change and to alter the plan. So they would know, because they've helped to guide humanity to a place where we can make this jump, you see. So they would have that perspective, but I don't know that they're going to tell us. I mean, do you give the student the answers, or do you lead them to the answers, and so that they get it themselves and then empower themselves with the knowledge? That's mentoring. That's mentoring. At least that's how I've understood it to be. Great question. Good questions today. Thank you very much. Okay, JP.
All right, got another one. Do you have any news on whether the DNA experiment program by 21 races on Earth humans has ended? And if so, what was the result?
I don't have any. I don't have any information. I've not yet heard from RNA. So, yeah, it's going on 4 days for him.
Could you repeat, this is Patricia, could you repeat your comment about the quake along the West Coast? Your voice dropped off at the end of the sentence. Did you say it's expected to occur within a week? My children live north of Seattle.
The Russian Academy of Sciences has warned all of the countries along the Pacific Rim that they believe that the Juan de Fuca plate, sometime in the next week, is going to have a 9+ earthquake. And that the potential or the probability of 100 to a 300-foot tsunami is extremely realistic. That's what they've told other countries. This information's on the net. The Academy of Sciences in Russia has published this information. They put this out there themselves based on the stress of the tectonic plates that they've been watching, that they're monitoring. I mean, they're not the only ones that have a USGS. They have their own. And, something like this would dramatically affect, the entire eastern coast of Russia. So they would be concerned about it as well. Or eastern coast, east of them. So they're very concerned about it, apparently, and they've made it public. I don't know if it's going to happen. I just don't know. But the information has come to me in 3 different ways. So that's why I'm sharing it. That usually tells me not to ignore it. So I've passed it on. I have people that I care about up there as well. Orcas Island, outside Seattle, Yelm. There's a lot of people I care about. And I love that part of the country. It's just beautiful. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be intervention and it won't occur. I just don't know. That's what I know. Okay? JP, I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, this is from Jan Heders. Will gold and silver be more valuable after the change to asset-based currencies? Thank you.
Dramatically. It's my understanding, just from what I've heard from people who are involved, is that gold should, in a relatively short amount of time, go up to $10,000 an ounce. Silver could hit anywhere from $600 to $1,500 an ounce. In the long term, silver, which is an industrial metal, should do very, very, very well. And it's still relatively cheap. And I've shared that with you guys about investing, if you're so inclined to, in some metals for that reason. You know, a lot of us can't afford gold, but a little bit of silver here and there at $14, $15, $17 an ounce, or a coin, whatever it is, you know, we can do that. We can stash that away and put it in our shoebox, and then, you know, get some. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. Many countries are going to a gold standard. That should tell you everything. Here in the United States, we have all this debt. And we have very large budgets. In order to cover that, we would have to have a currency that's backed by something very substantial. I'll be right there. Okay. I gotta go. Boy, they're tough here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for your time. James, JP, I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.